Master in music, master in music.
In a distant place in the Swedish forest lies a village called the Tune Village. There in the sunny meadow lies a red cottage built in the old manors of Dalsland, a Dalsland's house. Red color with white decor. The surrounding garden is a magical place, with knocks and cranes just big enough for a house elf or two. In the little pond, you can on a sunny day spot the salamanders as they play with the water fairies. The enchanted creatures of the meadow is not the only thing living here, because here is the home of Gun-Britt Gustafsson, lector in jazz singing at the Royal College of Stockholm, singer, artist, choir leader and concert producer. Today we are diving into Gun-Britt's magical meadow, the shy farm girl from a small village that traveled the country of Sweden with her voice and sang into our heart. From churches to community centers, hospitals, schools, to the beautiful blue or golden halls, Gun-Britt's strong and powerful voice has filled spaces with classical, folk tunes and jazz songs, through the years taking the listeners out on magical journeys. She's one of the most positive, sensitive listeners I ever met, and she has the ability to find beauty and expression in every performer. She releases art that is captured so it can grow into its full potential. Before we dive into the interview in her house in the magical meadow and talk about her singing approach as a singer herself and as a lector, we talk about how she felt like a really bad teacher in the beginning of her teaching career, and how she had to work her way up to the top, going against some of the most profound norms of singing. How she is having beautiful concerts in her barn outside her house in the meadow. Some of the local artists and some of the national best and biggest artists to her little small barn in the middle of the Tune Village. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Gun-Britt Gustafsson with the local tune as we walk over the fields with the trio Forget-Me-Not, with Peter Söderlund on flute and Nils Lundström on piano. Enjoy.
Händerna är
Welcome to Master in Music, Gun-Britt Gustafsson. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, we are sitting here in a lovely place in the middle of the forest in Sweden. It's your house in
Yes.
Dals Rostock, it's called. And you have a lovely, I don't know what to call this room. It's like a, I don't know. What do you call this room? Is it a music room or is it a living room or is it a combination between music and living room?
Music and living, because here I have my choir. The people are between 70 up to 89 years old. So we are 20 singers in this room. So I use it for education.
Yeah.
And also big parties. And I like the space and the light in this room.
You have big windows and it has this old-fashioned charm over it.
Yeah.
But maybe your living room, like, is somewhere you live, and you live from music, so maybe it's living room is correct.
Yes,
actually.
yes.
Because you live from music. You're a singing teacher and singing lecturer in the Royal Conservatorium of Stockholm. Do you call it a conservatorium or is it university?
No, it's Royal College.
College, okay.
Is the name.
Yeah. Because there's a little bit difference between conservatoriums and universities and college. But in Sweden we only have college and universities, right? So you've been teaching there for quite a while, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, and you are in the jazz department.
That's correct.
So how does a normal day look like in your life? Because you live in Dalsland, who is quite far from Stockholm, actually.
Yeah, I go by train to Stockholm, maybe Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning. And I start in the afternoon with my singing students.
Yeah.
And then I work for 3 days maybe. And it's very compromised.
Into a short period.
Yeah, because I have between 15 or 25 students a week. Yeah. And then I live with a really nice lady. She's what you say in Sweden, a real kulturtant. She's a woman who have tickets for drama, for music. She comes to Royal College to listen to our students' concerts, and I can live there with her in a small room, and that's what I can afford.
Yeah, of course, because it's super expensive to live in Stockholm. It's like crazy.
So she's my luck, and she's now this Corona time. Yeah, I haven't been in Stockholm since March. No, and so we talk on the telephone and keep the contact. And she thinks it's boring.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's such for a very active lady, like who loves culture so much and who is probably out every evening at some culture event. It must be like such a big difference.
Yes, it is. So then you asked me how it looks. Yeah. So I just have lessons. And then I work a lot for the people who work there. Yeah. So I take care of things for people's health also. Oh, nice.
I mean, being a singer is quite it's a little bit like hard to neglect your body because your instrument is like kind of inside you.
Yes.
So how do you deal with that you cannot see the instrument? Yes. Because it must be hard when you have a student to like you cannot open them up.
Yeah, that's hard, and that's the an example is I had a teacher when I studied in Arvika, and he was playing the organ and the piano, and he had been teaching this, and then he was a very good singer too. His name is Anders Hörngren.
Yeah, I know him. So
yes, you know him.
He's amazing. I was like, when you say organ and piano, I was like, that was Anders.
Yes. And he's crazy and a very curious person. And he said, when I started my education to be a singing teacher, I've really felt this is it. I don't want to educate anyone to play the piano. Yeah. Singing is so much more interesting. Yeah. It's the meeting with the other person, that's the big thing. Yeah. Because you have to see as you said, the body and how it connects with your breathing and your vocal cords, of course. Yeah. And you really have to go into the person to get the best out.
Yeah, the personality, and
Yes.
I guess that's also why it's kind of sensitive, because it's kind of part of your personality as well.
Yes.
So when you are working with you, I mean, every time you are learning an instrument, I also see it like personal development, because every problem you would have with that instrument is actually things that you need to work on in your personality. Like, for example, with me, I have had very little patience with stuff. So I had to work on my patience a lot when I learned an instrument, because it was important to me to actually put the time in and do the work properly. You cannot just, it's kind of like this, That doesn't work, and it's not accepted, especially not in the classical world, because it has to be precise and it has to be thought through, especially it has to be like in the kind of style of the epoch that you're playing in and stuff like that. But I also have a lot of singer friends, of course, and they always it's hard because they have to, the voice is such a big part of yourself, like you are the instrument actually, so it can be hard to also kind of break through that. But when you do it, it's such a reward, so that's really like worth all the fighting and all the sweat, But also it can be dangerous if you do it the wrong way, because singing is like something that everyone does. Like,
yes.
I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. So, like, you should sing for your children, or you do stuff, or maybe you're humming in the car when you're driving to your work. But if you do it the wrong way, actually, there is some pop artists that had problems because they didn't learn it properly. So then they kind of destroyed the vocal cords.
Yeah.
So what are the dangers with if singing wrong?
I usually say you can't do it. You can't sing in a bad way if you listen to your body. If it hurts, don't do it. But also, like when you exercise your body, you get muscle pain.
Yeah.
So you have to be really a good listener to yourself and your body and compare. This was good. This felt good. I don't go for the sound when I have beginners or really good singers with a lot of education.
Mm-hmm.
I try to get them to feel the voice.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah.
strange? Because our ear is our enemy. You want to sound like someone, or no, that doesn't sound good. No, it cannot do it in the beginning. It's like learning anything.
Yeah.
You cannot do it right. And have you been doing things? We say you are a dancing teacher, and then you have some lesson, you get some support, and they say, no, that's wrong, you have to change. It's the left foot first and then the right. Then you have your body and your brain gets like really confused.
Yeah.
So the hardest thing is, I said, oh my God, if I could just take out
the hard drive of the brain
and put new one in and say, now we start from the beginning.
Yeah.
You have all the knowledge you need to have about yourself and your body, and you are going to experience that.
Yeah.
I know everything intuitive.
Yeah. Isn't it like, I heard sometimes that singers talk about when you're a child and you scream, because then you have like all this power to scream very, very loud. And it's kind of an ability we are born with.
Yeah.
Everyone can scream when they are children.
Yeah.
And then kind of on the way to becoming grown up, we lose it.
Yes.
But actually from the beginning, we kind of have it naturally. But so when people say they cannot sing, it's a lie.
Yes, it's a lie.
Because they were able to sing when they were kids, actually, even though they were screaming. So it's just about preserving that kind of ability to make sounds.
Yeah.
That is
to go back.
Yeah, to go back.
So I use a lot of songs from Astrid Lindgren.
Yeah.
And songs that you're grown up with to find the natural voice to start with. So you don't make a sound. I want to sound like Adele, or I want to sound like... And you have to find your own voice, and that's my issue. I really want them to find their voice and accept it, and then you could develop it, do it.
Yeah.
And we are copycats, because that's how we learn to talk.
Yeah.
And yeah, you need both, of course, but you, as I said, you have to take the responsibility to see this me and what is my wish, and how are my people who listen to me, what do they say, what do they like, and should I care?
Yeah.
I'm this person, I'm this singer, but of course you have to get feedback,
Yeah.
of course. That's what we live on.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm also thinking that maybe you have to like, you need especially like someone from the outside telling you how it sounds, because then you can connect it to how it feels.
Yes.
So you can like connect the feeling, like, oh, now I did like this, I felt like that, and then it sounds like this.
Yes.
And I can imagine that it's like really important to record yourself.
It is. And back to Arvika,
Yeah.
I have had then studied 2 years and changed my singing teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the first 10 lessons, oh, don't do that. Maybe not so good, because I was crying.
Yeah.
After every singing lesson, I thought, what is this? Why does he say so? But my thing was that I have a very strong voice from the beginning, and expanded it to a mezzo, and I was singing back here. Yeah. And I was 20 plus, so it didn't sound like I sound like an old person, and it was no good. And this person, he did right. I got my voice back, my natural voice, and then could build. But once he says, "Oh, that note, that was good," and that was the first note that I felt was bad, because I couldn't relate, as you said, to the good one. When the tone is outside your mouth, not inside. Yeah. So, and all your
overtones,
so easy to say. They have to go here in the, not inside. Yeah. So then he recorded me with this, enormous.
Like big ones in the old days.
And I could listen to it and hear my voice from the outside, and that was aha. Yeah. When I lose the grip of my tongue, then the audience have it. Yeah. And that was really a really good thing. Yeah. But it took time to get over all these bad things that I have done, because I thought, that this is the thing.
Yeah. But maybe it's hard because sometimes we become too intellectual, that we are thinking too much, and it's easier to keep control, and we want to have control over everything. But actually, when you learn how to just let it happen and let it just be, then you really get the higher level, because you are brave enough to let it go and let the body work for itself. I really discovered how much your body actually can do for you without you interfering. I play so much better when I don't interfere with my intellectual thought. But our society is very intellectual. Everything is designed off the brain. That's why we're also sitting still a lot, and our body don't get enough exercise in our society, because we value intellectual work more. If someone has a job who is sitting by the office and thinking, they get probably much more money than a person working with their physical body, actually, which is kind of weird, because our brain is designed to work physically. Yeah. That's why we are getting more intelligent, according to the psychologist in Sweden, Anders Hansen, who wrote a book about how exercise is affecting your brain. Yes. Yeah, and it was really interesting to see how much, they did a lot of studies on how your brain gets younger, actually, by exercising 3 times a week, and how walking can really help you for diabetes and stuff like that. That is a big disease in especially our northern country, where we have very dark, and it's hard to exercise in the winter, because it's hard to motivate yourself when it's dark at 4 o'clock. Yeah. No, it's time to sleep. Yeah. But it's important when you want to sing to do it natural. Yeah. So many people have asked me, couldn't you write a book about your methods? And I think I don't have any. So I named it Natural Singing. Mm-hmm. And I haven't written it yet. Just it's coming. No. I'm doing so many other things now. So I said, just breathe in, then breathe out and make it noise. That's my basic thing. Don't overdo it. It's not so hard. Just breathe in and then sing. Yeah. But as you said, so many, and especially those who have studied for a long time, they think, oh no, couldn't be that easy. So if I have had, we say, from 100 students, when I say this to them, they want to change the teacher, because they think it should be harder. Yeah. No, it isn't. But it's really hard to just breathe in and just sing. Yeah, exactly. But we have some like really famous singers in Sweden. Actually, one that you were compared to a lot, Tommy Sjöberg, who is one of the person who actually didn't take a lot of singing lessons.
No.
Like he said that, no, I don't need it because, you know, I breathe and I sing.
Yes, that's right.
So it's one of the oldest like teaching books in the world.
Yeah.
I breathe and I sing.
Yeah.
But it's really the art of doing something simple. It's like I always say to my cello students that cello playing is the art of relaxation. Because the more you relax, the better it gets. But our brain wants to like, oh, I have to exercise, I have to do a force, because if I do it like, if I want something, I have to tense. I have to use physical muscles, but this total opposite. So when they really want to play well, they have to be like, I really want to play well, like relax super much.
Yeah.
And it's super hard. Like
Yes.
every time they have a problem with something, like, oh, Petronella, it's hard, I cannot do it. And I'm like, relax. And they're like, oh, it works. And they're like, oh, damn it.
Yeah, and I suppose that you also say, breathe when you take.
Exactly. Actually, when I applied for the music conservatorium a long time ago, I actually didn't enter in Gothenburg in the university because the cello teacher there, he said I don't breathe when I play, and he said it was very uncharming. So he didn't accept me into this to the school, and he said that I have to play cello more, like I'm lying in this, you know, this kind of when you have a summer house, you have this kind of fabric between the trees that you're lying. It's called a swing mat or something. If I direct translate it to Swedish, you know, I'm from Swedish. But probably my boyfriend would say something else. But you get the picture.
Yes.
And I was like, what the fuck is this? You know, I couldn't understand what he was saying. And I was like, how can you decline someone a life with music because of this? But then I'm like, now when I'm older and wiser, I'm like, you're so right. You understand, you were right. I give you right. Totally right. So it's important, this kind of, but I think also like sometimes we get so stressed that it's like hard to think of simple solutions, that there is truth. It's like Mozart, he always says, like, it was very simple things, but it really made it genius.
Yeah.
So simply the best, maybe. Yeah. So let's go back on the memory lane from the beginning. Yeah. Because I know that you are a Icelandic person.
Yes.
Yeah. So you come from here and you decided to that this was the blessed place. But you took a tour around the Swedish. The country, because it's a big country. So you started here, and of course I did my research. So I know that your mother was singing. Yeah. So that's how it started.
Yes, it does. It was like that. She's, it's a good memory. I'm born at a farm. Yeah. And she was singing a lot, and in the choir for over 40 years, in the church choir. And we were singing together and performing when I was younger. She was very shy. She could have been a singer, but she was too shy. Came up from up north, where the big jantelag comes from, where you shouldn't think that you are good or do something that don't put out your chin and say I can sing. Yeah. But she's been singing with me, and she taught me so many songs, from child songs to All of Me. She really loved Alice Babs, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Natalie Cole. So, and she still listens at jazz music. She likes that a lot. So I said to someone the other day, and I thought, yeah, that's right. It was like when the speech and the words
they're not enough.
No, it's not enough. It's like then you have to expand and sing it. And I often wondered, when did people start singing? But when you do, when I talk about speech in singing, so it's really about that, and then you expand, and you go for singing. And my parents had told me I was singing all the time, just to make noise was so good. Yeah. And then I chose between to be a hairdresser or a farmer, but music was nice, so I went to further studies, and it was like so natural for me to sing. So I thought it was too easy. Doesn't that sound bad? So then I started to, of course, in my time, you just could take lessons from a classic singing teacher. But there was some challenge
Yeah.
to do this. It was like another world. I came from here.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard a person sing in that way before, not natural singing. So that's how it started.
Yeah. And then you went to Karlstad,
Yes.
which is like one of the closest city if you go north.
Yeah.
And then you went to Arvika Ingesund.
Yeah.
We have had other people from that school actually, including myself.
Yes.
But also Ulf Waderbrandt, the conductor, the rock conductor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he was also Ingesund's former student.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a place where a lot of great people come from. So, and it's in the middle of the forest actually, and it's in the middle of nowhere, close to the most beautiful nature and a beautiful lake. There's a saying here in Dalsland, back to the nature, like the Renaissance, feeling. But what did you take from Arvika Ingesund, the school and the nature? Like, what was so good with that? What do you have in your backpack from that school?
It was a very good school in many ways. Not so many students, really high-class teachers. They were coming from Stockholm and from Oslo, because they was in the middle.
Yeah.
And we had so good practicing rooms.
Yeah.
You could practice until in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And I lived at the school.
Yeah. So you had the perfect.
Yes. And you had all the food on the table.
Yeah.
That's one thing. You could, when you lived at the school, you had breakfast, lunch, and afternoon coffee and tea, and of course food in the evening. That was good, and was good for running. You had all these surroundings that you could sports. And swimming I did in the morning.
A lot of singers swim. Is this good for the breathing?
Yeah, maybe. I've been doing this as sports very much because I like it. That was also one of my sides, to run and be. And I was running.
Yeah, do you like these multiple sports like that? Usain Bolt, those.
Yes,
it's like running fast and jumping high. Throwing things
and climbing with my arms only.
Oh yeah.
So what do I take from there? I take this. You had all the possibilities. You had not so many things disturbing you, like a city.
Yeah.
So you could concentrate, and that was in the walls of this house, because very many came from there. Who came from there? They are now in big orchestras or are really famous. But I think it has changed over time a little bit now in Arvika. It's not like
no, of course the generations skip through. And I mean, when I went there, we were lucky because most of the teachers were retired, very big names in Sweden who used to teach at other schools, but then they were retiring in the beautiful countryside, and then they were like, I can teach 2 days a week or 1 day a week, and a lot of them were kind of past the retirement age, but really amazing people. That's what I remember. And I remember that the school was really the mentality was really healthy in one way, because they were always thinking that, maybe you cannot do it now, but you will learn, because they are educating pedagogues, and they are trying to teach people how to be teachers. And of course, I just left when the new reform came in Sweden, that the teachers also have to do other subjects, not only music teachers. They are having to combine 2 subjects or 3 subjects, and the whole pedagogic system changed when I left, because I was accepted to the teacher school actually. But then my cello teacher, Lars-Inge Bärenstam, he said, "Petronella, don't stay here. I think that you want to do something else."
Yes.
And I kind of felt that was true. So then I went out of the forest and went to the south, like Skåne in Sweden, the south of Sweden, because I I think it was too close, because I came from here, and then Arvika was my first stop.
Yeah.
And I always had a lot of adventure in me. Maybe I'm restless, so I needed to go out, and I did that. So I'm happy. But also I was there for 2 years, so I think for me it's always nice to have fresh new things, and I think I was thirsty for new things.
Yeah.
I always been thirsty for challenging my personality, like leaving countries. And every time I leave the country, I always regret it, but because it's exhausting. It's so exhausting, and everyone has this romantic picture of how it is to move abroad. And oh my God, it's exhausting. You come to this place and oh my God, when I moved to Belgium and they were speaking only French, and I was trying to just, write myself into the municipality. Oof.
Yeah.
That was really good for mental muscles. Yeah. Let's say that. So, but you can use that. It's good. But
yes, it
musicians,
is.
I think musicians kind of always we have to move a lot, we have to travel a lot, even if you don't leave the country, and especially in a country like Sweden. Like you travel a lot to work. It's probably like 2.5 or 3 hours, even more. Maybe. Yeah.
4 or 5.
4 or 5, oh my God, yeah. That's going to work in Sweden. In the Netherlands, they're like 30 minutes, it's so far.
Oh, it's far. No,
can we bike there?
Yes.
No, we cannot. Maybe you can, but it's going to take 1 week.
Yeah, it's not so good. But so when I look back and I'm thinking that oh my God, you're getting so old, because it's the new things now and the new generation. Things that I took from Arvika was to concentrate, meditate. I didn't know what that word was, I promise. But you could really be something. You could so much exercise and so much opportunities to sing. We could have what we call a small student concert Wednesdays. It was people came and listened, and the students, and I've been doing this song now for 2 weeks, and now I want it on stage to see if it goes well. And we had all these parties, and I was singing, of course, in the band. You shouldn't, but I did Chicago tunes, and and then and so it could be for some people, maybe people like you. Even though then it was 1980 to 84, I went there. Of course, they could feel like, oh, everybody knows my name, everybody sees me. I can't not be seen. So some people wasn't so good with that. Yeah. But I liked it, and I worked a lot, of course, there with elevkår students.
Student council.
Yes, and I sat in the board for the whole school, like a student. So that's what I've been doing all my life, working to get things better. And I started in this education, like you, so it was a reform. And it was then you could try in for the schools 1979 and be a teacher or a musician. And so it was a new reform, and you should do so many subjects. It was not just sing or play the piano or the guitar. So you had to do so many subjects, and we had to lessen them to take some away, because it was too much. Yeah. But it was a good thought. Oh, this is good. This is good. You need to know how to play the flute, how to play the guitar, how to play the drums, and it was in the start, and it was some beginning faults.
Of course, like beginner mistakes, and it's also like when politics and education goes together. When people are deciding that are not in the system, kind of from outside, it can look good, but then when you actually do it, it's something else. And I think that's like something that musicians always have to like struggle with, because we are always getting funds by people who are not musicians, and they kind of have sometimes very unrealistic expectations. Yes. And I'm like, okay, how like I even notice it when I have clients that wants me to play for weddings, for example, because they always have this kind of funny thoughts that they're like, could you play the Beethoven 7th Symphony? I'm like, I'm one cello. I can play the cello part, but I cannot.
It's getting boring.
Yeah, I cannot replace 50 instruments. I'm flattered that you think that I have the opportunity of this. I have a loop station, but it only has 3 channels, so it's gonna be hard. I can do my best with Pachelbel, but yeah. Of course, it's hard to know that if you're not in the system, but sometimes we have to like speak up for ourselves, and I think sometimes musicians maybe are a little bit bad at that because we are so used with authorities. We are so used to just follow blindly our masters.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I salute you, master. And sometimes we have to think for ourselves. I always like, there was this Swedish monk. He's called Björn Nattiko Lindeblad. And he was a monk in Thailand. And he says, you shouldn't believe everything you think. And I think that's a really like nice thought. Because sometimes you have to like challenge truth. Like, is it really truth? And I have a teacher when I was small in high school. He always says that don't believe everything that is true. So I think I'm like, maybe it's because my mother is like a hippie or something. She was a 70s hippie, but I'm always like challenging the authorities. And I'm like, is this really, do I really have to do this? Do I really want to do it? Why am I doing this? So, I mean, it's also what we do when we play and we practice, because we always have to challenge like our abilities.
Yes.
But sometimes we don't do that when someone else is telling us stuff. And sometimes we have to do that, I think. Yeah. I think it's healthy.
And also, all the possibilities that we have today with like this, recording, listening to others and looking at others. I mean, we had this library in Arvika, Ingesund, and I went up and listened to these recordings. So that was a thing to do. You couldn't hear it like on your mobile phone. You couldn't listen. You couldn't. You had to take the time. You had to take the time and to concentrate, and that I think is so good. And also one more thing that I really feel so sorry for so many students, that they in a way compare themselves so much, so they take the edge of their own well-being. Just as back to this, just breathe in and sing. And you don't need to, is it good, is it bad? Just sing, because when you just sing, you practice. And also just to be in the music, with the music, sing in a choir. Don't compare yourself so much with others, but take in the people you have around you to support you or to get inspired. Of course. But nowadays it's so many, as you say, YouTube, or you could see so many and you say, oh no, I will never be that good. Yeah, you will.
I mean, what you're saying now is super interesting. I'm thinking that maybe it's like they create this false reality of we and them, that is either them or me. Yeah. And I think that's a lie, because I think there is enough people in the world for everyone to have someone that wants to listen to them. And I think that's also why we don't, like, people have this, they create a reality that it's hard to be a musician, you cannot work with it. But I say that, of course, it's hard if everyone is trying to get the same audience. If everyone wants to play in the Blue Hall in Stockholm, then it's hard. But why should, there is also people who wants to listen who doesn't go into the Blue Hall. And why can't they be your audience? They are, I mean, does it really matter where you are singing? I mean, for me, it doesn't matter. I've been in the most incredible places with the most amazing, acoustics, and maybe it's a barn. Maybe it's in a boat, a houseboat, on the Maas in Maastricht. I mean, it can be anywhere, and you find these beautiful places where it's just amazing, and people love it. And I mean, if it's not Carnegie Hall, I don't care. I mean, find your audience, and it's not about me and them, and it's not about me and other cellists, because I am really good at being Petronella, I think. I mean, no one else is as good as me being myself, I guess. So that's if you try to be like someone else, it's very hard, because then you have to compete against them. Yeah. But I think if you're not trying to compete with them, because you have your personality, especially with singing, I mean. Yeah. Because you have your voice. I mean, no one has the vocal cords that you have. No one has the body that you have, the muscles. But I don't know where it comes from. Where does it start? Yeah, and I got a thought. Yeah. As I said in Arvika, all this just on stage. Do it. Oh, I failed. I do it next week. Yeah. So every time you get on stage, then you learn something new about yourself. And that we have all these concerts at the Royal College of Music in Stockholm, but many they don't want to. They don't want to, because, oh no, I have to study one more year. Yeah.
Now I'm exaggerating. And then I say, man, but just go to a church, ask if you could sing on a Sunday 2 songs, or just meet the audience, meet people that you should communicate with. And as you say, that's your platform. You have to say, oh, maybe I'm too nervous. Maybe I have to look into myself. What makes it bad?
Yeah.
Why do I think it's hard to sing at the Royal College? Because everyone are critical, or are they? I say, are you critical when you go and listen to your friends? No, I think it's really nice. Yeah. What did you say? Why should they say, oh, she's no good singer, I could do that better? It's not always about competing. And to make this, I've tried so hard for over 30 years at the college to make people good artists, even though they are going to be teachers. Because if you're not a good artist and are going to teach people to be artists, how are you going to do that if you don't know how it is?
Yeah.
So you have to go on stage. And I think that makes you a better pedagogue.
Yeah, and it does, like, you have to be your own teacher your whole life, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's...
And that's really, so many students say, oh my God, is this my last singing lesson? But you can take one afterwards also.
Yeah.
And you have to be your own teacher and take the responsibility of your well-being and your artistic side.
I kind of have this like philosophy that I kind of like search for. I always think that is like a trinity, I call it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like the artist, it's the craftsmanship, it's the artist and the human, and all of them need to be in line, because you have to be a craftsmanship. Like, some people are really craftsmanship, like they have the technique that is like incredible, but maybe they need to work on their artist side. Maybe they need to open up more and be able to like expose themselves as an artist. And maybe some of them need to work on the human side, because if you're not, like, if you don't sleep, if you don't eat, if you don't exercise, it's impossible to be the two. Because we have seen during the history that some musicians that doesn't take care of the human side, they die very young. Like, I mean, for example, Cornelius Vreeswijk, a Swedish Dutch one, he died very young. He was like 50, but also like the big rock stars and everything, like they do drugs and they drink and they don't sleep. And we also have people who take their own lives, actually, because they really don't feel well. And I think that's like, it doesn't need to be that way. We don't need to be suffering artists in that way. We don't have to die in too early, because if you take care of your human side, I mean, in my opinion, you also play better if you have slept and you have eaten.
Yes.
And you are happy, you know.
Yeah.
It kind of gives, everything becomes a loop that is like positive. But I wanted to talk because you said something about meditation and concentration, and that's a big trigger for me. Like, how do you do to concentrate and focus? Like, do you have any, like, okay, what do you do? Do you just like go into concentration automatically, or is it something that just happens, or do you have like something that you do? You said meditation.
This is a hard question, because that's not for me. I mean, I've been, as I said, I couldn't stop singing, so for me it was not big deal.
Yeah.
So it was just on stage, sing. Oh, that didn't work. I didn't communicate this. Oh, my text wasn't so good, so I couldn't see the fire in the eyes or the public. But my focus was to exercise that much. Your level on this special song, we say Rejoice, Handel, you worked it so much. You have really just breathing. Oh, if I get bad breathing, where do I take a new one?
Yeah.
So I had so many skills to do it in many ways, in bad acoustic, in good acoustic, on a bad day, when you wake up and you are not so happy, or the kids are really taking your concentration, and you know that I'm going to be a diva in some hours, so I have to go there. So I don't know how on spot, what was it? I think it was I could rely on my exercise And I was so well prepared, so I could have fun on stage.
Yeah.
Because you always go down some level.
Yeah.
And sometimes you raise. Sometimes it gets much better.
Yeah.
Because of you get the adrenaline, the kick of the audience to do it. And meditation, I had a student, he couldn't breathe with his stomach. I hate to say that, but he couldn't get down in his body. It was impossible. And then one day I tried so many things, and you say, oh, you could lay on the floor, on your back, put your hands on, and it was still, I'm breathing up here. So I said, turn around. And he was on the floor on the stomach.
Yeah.
And with the head on the side like this. And then I said, breathe. Yeah. Because then you can't breathe wrong.
Mm.
That's the best thing. You can't breathe with your chest when you are on your stomach.
Yeah.
So I started to turn around very many of my students, and I said, I want you to do this every day. It's like in meditation. You're going to just breathe in and just do ooh. And it was not yoga. It was not like but to get the air out. Ooh, and listen to your body. I'm breathing in, and when I breathe out, I have this. So then they should turn and do it the same, and then sing more like ooh. But still, it was just ooh. Not, I'm not doing any good noises. I'm doing breathing together with singing.
Everything starts there. It's like
so so go and lay down and start to sing, and that got me in the mood. And really, I took it to myself, because after the first baby was born, your muscles is not so good. They are like blah, 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 blah. So to get them to work again and not use your vocal cords or your throat too much, because I could do this coloratur, and it was like it sounded really. Then I took these on,
the headphones,
and I had borrowed from a worker. He worked with roads, so I couldn't hear any noise at all. Yeah. And then I started on the floor, and then I raised up, and then I did my exercise that I was used to, some you had in your muscle memory. Yeah. And I didn't listen for a week. He was born in November, and I had concerts in Christmas.
Oh, yeah. It's Matthias.
Matthias. Yeah. So I couldn't start from the beginning. It was too hard. Yeah. So when it was in the beginning of December, I started, and I didn't listen for a week. And then I did, like, in the middle of an exercise, I just, no good. Oh, my vibrato was horrible. So back in business. Do it again from the start. Go with your muscles. Listen. Oh, sorry. Listen. Listen. Don't listen. Feel. Yeah. How do I connect with my breathing? And how I was standing on my hands. I was doing many things just to get off this. I'm standing still, and it should sound really good. Using jongleringsbollar.
What do you call it? Jonglering. It sounds like an international word.
Yes.
Jonglering. You're throwing balls in the air.
Yeah. I use that a lot.
As a circus guy?
Yes. Standing on one leg. Do many things for, as you said, your body, the body knows what to do. If I had to keep my balance on a balanced plate, I use it a lot today in my then the body has to connect again with muscles down here, and if you breathe high or tense, you will fall. So I used that, but I didn't. So I really experienced so many new things that I then brought into my teaching, and it was so good.
I think it sounds amazing. It sounds like you are a very, very curious person. That every time you get a problem, you're like,
I have to
now we have something interesting here. What can we do?
Yeah.
Because curiosity seems like, you have to be super curious to do this kind of outside the box thinking. Yeah. To try to connect with your body. And I also have a friend who got a child, and she had to sing like 2 months after giving birth. And she said, wow,
It was 6 weeks for me, and I was like,
yeah. Oh my God.
Yes, it was really terrible. But that's a good thing. When you say it, I have read some stuff that people written about me and what I've said, and that you said that curiosity, that's the big teacher. Why can't I do this? I should.
Yeah, but also like when you said with the concerts that you're trying out and then maybe something doesn't work, then you don't react with like self-hate and destructive thought. You think like, okay, this was interesting. How can I change this? How can I work with that? That's like a very healthy, I think. It's easy to go in the destructive mode instead of thinking, oh, this is an opportunity to learn something. This is something I can change. And oh, maybe my texting wasn't good. I heard a recording. Maybe I can do it better.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that with my podcast. So I listen with my podcast and I'm like, okay, Petronella, stop saying that word. No to myself. Stop saying that word.
Yes.
Luckily, I can always edit.
Yes. That's really. And so it's I've had my moments of problems. My voice has always been with me, but I had really went right into the wall. I didn't know, and I had pneumonia.
Oh.
I lost my voice and couldn't sing. I mean, that was my way of teaching. I sang into my students' bodies so they should feel relaxed singing. But then I couldn't, and I had to talk about it. Yeah. And then I got new ideas because couldn't use my tools, so I had to find new. And I also, as you do now, I do massage, and I use that in my room with my students to take away tension and finding.
Where is the most tense place on the singer's body?
It could be anywhere. When I started work at Royal College, after some years, I could hear how they went into my room, how they opened the door.
Could you hear which person it was or?
Which mood they were. Oh. Because I knew I'm expecting this person. And then I knew, okay, she's broke up with her boyfriend, she is haven't slept, or she has some issues. And then I could see, I can't start this lesson like, now, breathe in, breathe out, do this, la, 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 la. I have to start another way. And then maybe I just went back and hold my hands on their back and couldn't feel, okay, it's really tense here at the shoulders often because of, as you know, so I started using that a lot, and I have been doing that for all my life with people. I'm a person who touches people a lot. Yeah. And that's, a lonely person is not a strong person. Yeah. We are like animals.
Pack animals, yeah. We need to be together.
We have to be together. And like, you shouldn't put a baby in a room without this baby hearing your breathing. Then it feels like, where am I? Am I? Yeah. So to be close is very, very important. And you should know that. Yeah. And also, if you are a single person, and you're not the person who give hugs or take hugs, and now in these days you can't. If a teacher put just a hand on your back, it likes, oh, I have a back. Yeah. We are all so much in front. We meet the audience with our fronts, with our eyes and gestures, and we forget the back. And the back is so important for your breathing, so that you are a whole body. Yeah. So I'd say, if you stand on stage, you should think that I'm Jesus. Yeah. And so many pictures of him is like, he stands and he holds out his hand like I'm really ready to hug you all. And that means that he takes in his back. Yeah. It's not like, here am I. No. It's like, I relax, I go back, come to me. Yeah. And that's a good thing for an artist. I go there, and you go there. We meet in the middle. Yeah. That's communication, and that's a good art history.
And also you will feel maybe more safe because you are like not only like, but because it's a bit like a protection mode that you have your front, you can see everyone. But I really, actually, to be able to turn your back to them means that you will be kind of like secure. But I also think it's really important, like sometimes just to do the opposite, you know?
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like just lying on the stomach instead of the back. You know, the opposite thinking. Like what will happen if you turn the airplane around and drive it from the other side?
Yeah.
I mean, the good news is that you can see the ground really close. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, just to think the opposite, like what will happen if I do the opposite?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that when I train people mentally, when they are very nervous, I always tell them like, congratulations, you're really good at getting nervous. Then if you do the opposite, you will be really good at not getting nervous.
Yeah.
Because nervous is something you make yourself. And they're like, what? It's my fault. It's like, you're making yourself nervous if you're thinking catastrophic thoughts.
Yes.
So stop doing that.
Yeah.
Start thinking good thoughts, because it's as likely, it's 50% chance that you will do it super good also.
Yeah.
But most people don't think about that, because we are like, our reptile brain is like thinking about the tigers in the bush, and that used to save us. But it's also maybe 50% chance that there's no tiger in the bush. Maybe there are blueberry that will give us nutrition.
But you are so young and but young and wise, and you do this part. Oh my God, I lost the question. I had a good question for you. Yeah. Nowadays, we talked about this now a lot, that you could compare yourselves to so many people and artists, and you have all these talent shows. And I have nowadays so much more meetings with students that they are so bad in their psyche.
Yeah.
I have never had so many. If you say 10 years ago, it could be one or two in about 50 students I have each year in singing lessons that could have this
anxiety.
Anxiety. But now it's so many more. Yeah. So we have a large problem at the Royal College, and I think every college has this.
Definitely.
And you have to face it. And then, as I say, and I get sometimes, I'm so old. Why do you do this to yourself? Just eat some good breakfast, practice, and have fun. Yeah. It could be hard, so hard. But it is. And so I wonder, where are we going? What should we do as teachers?
Yeah. How do we react on that kind of, because also like you tell us now, like you're more than a teacher. It's not like a normal teacher who comes into the classroom and say, hi, good morning. Today we're going to learn about English grammatic, or we are going to learn about he, she, and it. It's not like that. It's not something that you can do like a quick fix for the group, because musicians are always one-on-one with their teachers, at least in the level that you are teaching in. It's only choir practice and stuff like that is in group. I mean, I also notice, like when I have students, that maybe I am the only person that is grown up that they meet, that they can talk to. Yeah. And that half an hour is so precious. Yes. And like if someone bullied them in school or something happened, it's such an important moment to have a grown up who is not sitting with the phone, who is not doing it. I'm just there with them. I'm just here for them in that moment. I also have grown-up students who comes to me, and maybe their boss was super bad to them that day, and they're like having stress problems, and just, I mean, it's like a therapy session. I mean, people talk about music therapy and stuff like that, and I am positively convinced that that's what I'm doing, and everyone else is doing as a music teacher as well, because learning an instrument is so much more than just, it's not, I'm going to music classes. You are developing your personality because you learn to concentrate, you learn to reach goals, you learn to practice, you learn to study. Like, that's why, I mean, your son is a perfect example. Like, he's a doctor, and there is so many people who did music who are doctors or engineers and like really high educated persons, because they kind of could use the skills that they learned in music to become really good at something else as well. Yeah. And also, like, of course, I'm very partly in this. I mean, music is like activating your brain more than anything else. Like, they did test when, like, they scanned the brain. There's a beautiful TED talk about this, where they like scanned the brain when people did sport, they were painting, they were doing actor classes and everything. But nothing activates the brain like music. It's like a big like disco inside there. And it's also like why music can prevent Alzheimer's and like help people with Alzheimer's and dementia, because it doesn't get affected. Like when I worked in a caring home here very closely, when I was studying, I was sang for my patients, because they get super scared when you're gonna shower them and they don't understand what is happening in the morning when someone just walk into the room and say good morning. Like I went, they taught me how to do this. So we went into every room and put on the radio, so they were waking up to their favorite music, and then we went in and like good morning. And then if they needed to shower, we were like singing the children's songs, like Pippi Longstock songs, or you know, like all these kind of old goodies. And we had one, he loved Eva Taube a lot. So I was like, dum, ba-da-bi-dum, bob, like when we showered him, for example, because it was a trigger for him that he was calm and he was like focusing on the music so much. And it's like you said, music can take another level when words are not enough. Then music comes in and people can kind of understand without saying a word. You understand. And that's also what I do. I sing a lot of Swedish songs in the Netherlands. They have no clue what I'm singing about, but it doesn't matter because they understand what it's about.
And you have so many songs from Sweden, folk songs in minor.
Yeah, amazing. I love it.
Yes, but it is amazing because we have on our farm, we rented out some houses, and so we know about 40 families, and many came back. So 20 of the families were really close friends from Germany, from Holland, from different parts, from England, and we were trying to sing songs together. O Tannenbaum was the only one song that the people from German could sing, because they had not this our tradition. They couldn't, and but so you have to know some song, not only congratulations or no. And then people asked me about this minor singing, and they loved it.
I think it's a way of expressing beauty, you know, like this.
Is it, or is it melancholy? In the winter, you write songs, and they are like, "Oh, it's dark and boring."
I mean, that's what I always say to the audience. I say that, I mean, it sounds very sad, but the text is very happy. Like, for example, Ute i vår hage, Out in the Fields. It's a very nice song, and it's actually kind in E minor, but it's not that bad. I mean, from the beginning, it's a recipe for abortion. But, I mean, okay, maybe that's sad, but I mean, it's not that sad. Like, it's like if you want to have fun in the fields with me, come and eat some flowers, and it will be fine. No baby required, sort of. But it's interesting with music how it can express in the different language of each city. Like in the Netherlands, you have this kind of carnival music, which is very happy and like bam bam bam, like really, really annoying. But but I mean, it's good to drink too, I guess. But it's special. It says a lot, and they are a bit jealous of our folk music, of course. Like, but maybe we are good at preserving here in Sweden. We are like preserving. We like the old things. You have to preserve things. And some countries are more like looking into the future and forward. And I think Sweden might be a little bit like, oh, it was better before, you know, in the old days. We like to think back to the golden ages. But actually things get better. And I think that's kind of also a thing in the universities and music education. That, you know, everything was so good when Beethoven was alive. But I was like, no, in Beethoven's time, I wouldn't even be able to play cello because women were not allowed.
No.
And you always have this discussion between like it was better before, but I'm like, come on, things develop. Like we know so much more about the brain now than we ever did.
Yeah,
but we need to use that in our education. We need to use that things, and we have to redesign the education because it's not relevant to the society that we have now. Our education hasn't changed that much compared to how much the society has changed. So we have to follow the wave.
That's very important, to be with one foot in the reality. But a small thing is that also I can't even find the word in Swedish, but I think that everyone should have some history in their bodies. As you said, when you reach these elder people by singing, they could relate to their childhood or to something good. And when I have my students with all these issues, I say, please sing sing some songs from your childhood. And nowadays they don't even know these songs because it's something that happens now that's not so good. But because if you can do this easy sing a person's life, like Emil Lönneberg, he describes what he's doing, and you don't think, oh, I'm going to sing. I'm just singing. I'm just telling a story through singing.
Yes.
Oh my God. And also Taube, Ferlin, all these Bellman.
Yeah.
He was really with one foot in the classic music and one in the folklore.
Yeah.
Listen to people and could tell the stories about the king. And so now I try hard to say you have to sing one Cornelis, one song of this, really many more.
Yeah.
So you could get this forward to your children, that we have this platform that we come from.
Yeah. To grow from.
Yeah, and Midsummer and Christmas, they have the same songs that you dance to.
Yeah.
And that's our history, and it's in ourselves, in our body. Now people do too much of this. I just want to do the new development, but you can't forget your history.
Yeah. And
many people listen to this history pod and are now like, oh, it's so interesting. Yeah. It's where Napoleon, he was the man who made the how to the streets in the cities.
He constructed the roads. He also put the Swedish king on the throne. That's why it's called Bernadotte.
Yes, that's right. So you get and
Yeah.
It comes. So I would put something in one hand and then do the new things with the other. So you always have to balance also this, I think. Don't forget your history.
Yeah. I think it's like, what I am searching for in this podcast is like that you can look how other people did it and how people did things and how they are doing stuff. And then you can like take what you think is useful for you, and then you can use it for doing something else, like doing something that is personal, connected to you. Because that's what I'm doing with the Cornelius program, for example. I'm wanting to write my own songs. But I know that Cornelius, he started with listening a lot to Bellman, and his first concerts was just Bellman songs, and his first CDs was Bellman songs, because he was really like learning how Bellman did it. And then you learn from someone who did it before, and then you like kind of, okay, he uses this structure in the chords, he uses this kind of rhymes, which is really amazing. Oh, maybe I can use it the same. Oh, actually his grammatic words are not perfectly, because he says words that you shouldn't use. You were like following the grammatic structure or the Swedish Academy in words, but it works perfectly because it rhymes. So it's great music. So I really like to go back and look how people do it. That's also why I started the podcast, because I'm like, how is people doing this? How is people living from music? How are people teaching their students? I want to learn more, because maybe I can use some of it in my own life, because we can learn so much from each other. It also brings me back, because I want to know how you went from graduating from the school to your working life, like that kind of period, because that's a really interesting period in every musician's life.
Yeah, I made all these concerts while I was a student, nearly every week and in the weekends. And then I got my graduation, the first one from Arvika. I applied for 20 different jobs, and I got 15 without any interview.
Wow.
And that was also what I was going to say. This new reform, where I started this education, my school, it was like, we see that we have these church musicians, and they had church on Sunday, and then they have music teaching, and they were not so pedagogic, or they were really not so good. That's why they saw we need to higher the level in this teaching in music, the subject music in the school, because it's a very important. So that's why this was doing with all these subjects. You should know everything to teach everything. And so it was so many not educated people in the country. So when we were examined, we had so many things to choose. So I chose to work in Vadstena.
Beautiful city.
Yes. It was 1 year because she was having a child, the one who had. So I had this first start on a very high level. You said that you're like challenge and very curious, and I was like, oh my God, but I want to be here. But I was not a good teacher. People say afterwards that I was, but I think it was more about my personality, maybe, because I was maybe a good listener or something, and a good singer.
Yeah.
So they could just
listen and learn.
Copycat. Yeah. So I was doing that, and then 2 years more at the gymnasium in Mjölby and Motala.
Yeah.
And then I applied again to Stockholm.
Yeah.
And then it was this on top of my education, the first. So I was just singing. Yeah. And I was singing jazz and classic, and no one had done that before. Elisabeth Melander, doc.
Okay.
We are really so like each other. She's in the south of Sweden. So, and people said, you can't do that. You can't sing classic and you can't sing jazz. It would be no good, either of them. But I think I was quite good. I was not a big star. So so I just continued, as you said. I worked, I sang there. Yeah. And summers, we had the tours in church, of course. And my boyfriend, who became the father of my children, he was a fantastic pianist. And then we had Peter Söderlund also on flutes. Yeah. So we had this trio. And that was really, we worked so hard to get good level and to, as you said, be our own teachers together. It was really good.
I remember it, because I don't know if you remember, but actually my first memory with you was I was 7 years old, and you were singing in the church of Skållerudskyrka here, the church of Skållerud here. And actually my father was being buried because he got cancer and he died when I was 7. And you were singing Så länge skutan kan gå. It's a very beautiful Swedish talk song. And Peter was playing on the flute.
Yes.
That's all I remember. I mean, I was 7. But that's my first remember of you. And you sing this song. And I still have it so strong in my memory. Of course, it was a big thing. It was a very hard moment for me. But that's the first moment for me. And it really meant so much. My sister, the first thing she said when I said, I'm going to interview Gun-Britt, and she's like, oh, she sang at our father's funeral, you know. She has such a clear memory of it. But it really, it's in the small things, the big changes lie. So maybe, you were building up your career at the same time you were studying. And that's really important to have, both working life and study time at the same time. Yeah. Because you're building up your career at the same time. Yeah. I think most people, or a lot of students, in my experience, they say, I'm going to do that later when I'm better. Yes. Because they're always waiting for the next step. Yeah. But there is always an audience that can be applied to your level in music playing. Even my students who are beginner cellists, they can play for some people and they will enjoy it. Yeah. Because music, there is an audience for everyone. And for every level, there is an audience. And some people listen with their heart and some people listen with their mind. And it's actually they did studies, and people who are educated in music, they listen with their brain more because they did these scans. Yeah. And it's different parts of the brain, the analytic part of your brain is more active when you're a musician. But I mean, it's natural. It's our working space. I'm sure that if you put an engineer in front of another engineer, they will also have an analytic side, watching or working when they are showing the signs. So I think that's normal. But find people who want to listen to you when you play. That's the most I don't know, basic thing. I think also that we have distinguished between the story that you tell from your life, and I think it's important. But how did you end up teaching in the school that you were studying in? Because that's a big step, no?
But I have that's a big step. First, I want to say one thing that I also really, really interview my students at the first moment and meet them. And now I'm talking of with Royal College. Yeah. I have small students here from 9 years old up to 90 in here in Dalsland. Yeah. But the first thing I ask them is, I want to know what your expectation on me are and what you're good at. And not so seldom, they start to cry.
Oh my God.
Because there's no one on the way back to the Royal College who asks them what are good at. Because it's always what you want to learn.
Yeah.
What's your problem? But I start always with the good things. And you can start with a good song.
Yeah.
And from there, you could develop.
Yeah.
You don't need to start down there to be good or better.
Yeah.
You should see your strength.
Yeah.
And I get so angry with all this. And then I also say, what are your identity? I have had so many good singers, and they say, I'm just going to be a teacher. We take that again. And how are you then supposed to be a good example for your students or your pupils if you don't have the identity of a musician? You have to have the identity. Am I a singer or not?
Yeah.
So sometimes that may be not so good. I force them up on stage. Because as you say, I take it later when I'm done, when I'm good enough. No, you will never be good enough. You are the person that you are, and you could communicate music on every level.
Yeah.
And you could really start to cry when you hear someone maybe singing out of tune, but with their heart and with their body. That's my big goal with my students. So they have to find their identity. Otherwise, I don't think they should study or be a singer or even a teacher, because if you're not in your body when you communicate music, then why should you?
Yeah.
Is it your choice or your parents or your expectation that made you this? So how did I start to be a teacher? I started in 87 and I was a teacher there from 88. Because I was the bridge between classical music and other stuff. And it was not like clear jazz, scat. It was that I did all this, visa, folk music, and I didn't put this on under the table. That I did it. My really old professors, they thought it was so bad, but I thought it was good. So I started.
The thing that they were criticizing you was
my
the thing
God,
that
it
made
took
you
15 years to be accepted by my colleagues.
Oh my God.
Some of them could see it. So it was like them, and that was me, and then I had someone who were a little bit younger and maybe not so conservative. Yeah. They didn't see, if you sing a jazz tune, your voice will be destroyed. No, I don't think so. So then I was this bridge, and I built up students who came to me private and then asked to have me as a teacher. So in 93, I got this
position.
job. Yeah.
That's really, like, how do you handle, because it's hard when educated, acknowledged people are going against you. How did you handle that? Like, do you have any tricks for, like, jealousy and when people say bad things about you? And especially, like, if someone says bad things about your voice, it's so personal. Like, it's like they are attacking your body.
Yeah, it is. The last thing you say, then I could cry a lot. But when I got this
when they questionize everything you do.
Then I got it then I put out my chin. Like Tommy Sjöberg, we are very much alike. I know that. And then I just challenged. And I think that it's not good to be angry. That's a bad thing for your body. So I've been learning a lot of this, but I was really angry, and that helped. And I tried all the time to see, but this student, she can sing Bach and she can sing this. Listen, because I did that. Why shouldn't she or he? So they accepted me slowly and saw that I was the most popular teacher at the school. Yeah. So they had to. I was their problem.
They were their own problem.
Yeah.
Because
afraid and curiosity said that. That's so important in your life, but also these fears. The fear make people bad.
Yeah, scared and say stupid stuff. And it's also hard. Like, do you also feel jealous sometimes, like yourself?
No.
Other people? No. That's so nice.
Sometimes I say, shoot her. when I listen to a singer. That's so good.
Yes, for a joke.
But I don't mean it.
You take your big route going out in the forest.
Yeah, but I hear so many often people who says, "Oh my God," and then it's not professional. It's the audience people. So they like music and they say, "Oh, she's singing out of tune and he is doing that." And what? And I can't hear. And I, of all people, should hear all these small nuances, but I hear so much more. I think I said it to my daughter. I have like Anna, a student she's now a big singer, jazz singer, and when she comes here to have a lesson with me, I'm meditating before, thinking through what are we going to attend to now. Yeah. You're so good. You don't need me. But she needs someone to sing. Yeah. And then I think I'm so bad. I will not teach her anything today. That's very bad. So I go back to myself and say, yes, you can. And then we meet. And nowadays, my right ear is not that it was. I've had very many singers in my right ear. So I'm getting old and I'm getting like, just think if I can't be that good teacher because I hear everything. I really hear what you think when you sing. Yeah. Because I have had all this experience for so many years. I started as a teacher when I was 18, as a singing teacher, long before I knew what I was doing. And then we communicate, and then I don't listen. I just feel. And that can no one take away from me. I don't have to hear all these overtones anymore, because I can see how she pronounces the words, and then it's magic of all this experience, and that I will give to you. You will have this you too. When you, as I said, you see the student in the room and you don't just know, today it's not skates, today it's massage, and you have to cry. And now we can start the lesson.
Yeah, I think it's super good. What have you as my teacher now? It's amazing. But I mean, it's just so healthy, I think. And it's also to be able to see someone's soul when they sing. My old cello teacher, my cello professor that was also in the podcast, he can see people's souls when they play. He doesn't need to talk to them. He just knows exactly who they are just by listening to their playing. And like, that's just such an amazing thing, to be able to see the good things in people, because it's so easy to see the faults, but to be able to see the good things and being able to expand the good stuff in people, that's how you make them good people and good students and good musicians, because you want to focus, like, you don't go in your garden watering the weed, unless you're Dutch and you have weed in your garden. But I mean, if you are a Swedish person, it's illegal here, so then you are going to the roses, you're going to the flowers, the beautiful things, the things that you like, the strawberries, you're watering them, and the weed you take away, and you're like, okay, this is not important, and throw it in the trash. But if you're always like watering the weed and focusing on all the bad stuff, you're creating them bigger and giving them too much attention.
Exactly.
It's just like, I don't know who said this kind of garden symbolic thing. It was not my own creation, but I think it's a very good,
it's good
image to have in your head. But I also like that you are like visualizing the lesson before. Since I think like our mind works off the pictures that we create in our head. And if you create a picture of what is going to happen, like how it's going to look, how it's going to feel, then it's more easy when you actually do it, because then you are going to be like, I've been here before. Because your brain is so primitive, it cannot distinguish what is reality and what is lie.
And
fiction.
To be open-minded.
Yeah.
And that's also, I've had some pedagogic lessons with people, as you said, about your cello teacher. You could, you know the person by listening, and also by seeing, to see the body language that I use in my teaching so much, to know before they know what they need. Yeah. And also when we were educated, they said, and then you start with the breathing, and then you do this, and then you do that, and then... And I didn't understand why, because you can open your mouth and sing, even if you're tired. So I did what the teacher taught me to do, the method, but then I did this method that I have. Sometimes you start with, as I said, a small child song, and you could do it like in ooh, but just don't be so conservative. Don't be on the level where you meet the people, meet the student, right there. What is today? What do we see? What will happen? That's why I'm back to Anders, because he felt this to have singers in the room was to work with the body and personality together. Yeah, and that's so much more. It's maybe not more challenging than a cello teacher, or I've been teaching guitar, but I feel that was easier in a way to teach, because you have something between you, and you could, as you said, focus. You could say, no, your fingers are not right, but I can. Okay, you should lower your larynx, or use
relax the vocal cord.
Yes, that's really hard, and it's hard for the singer too, because you can't see it. Yeah. So, but these things, as I told you, to have them, that you can't hear yourself in the room, just put your fingers in your ears. Yeah. That's also a good tip when you have a long phrase and things doesn't work, because, as you said, when you use attention and think that's the thing. I like it. They should use to get there from A to B. No, it's to relax and go with the flow. Yeah. So you get this, and then it's good. Don't listen. Yeah.
To maybe sometimes work with only one sense in your body, like not always all of them. Sometimes the eyes, sometimes the ears, sometimes the feeling, the touch, the kinesthetic.
Yes.
I am wondering now, like, what do you dream about? What's your dream? Because you have quite an amazing career like behind you. I know that you got the Culture Prize here in Mellerud very recently. So that was, congratulations for that. Really amazing. And I know that you're going to start teaching in the local music school here.
Yes.
So I'm really happy to hear that. That must be like such a, wow, what a treasure to give back to the to local.
Yeah, I hope so.
To have such a teacher that has such an experience behind them. So what is your dream? I know that you do some concerts, and actually I know that you are more than just a singing professor and a teacher. You are also having like an atelier here that is making like beautiful art sculptures, and I don't know how I should describe it more accurate, but it's like she takes like glass and she transforms it to beautiful art. And I have 2 of them in my house. The mother bought for me. That is incredibly beautiful, and I get a lot of compliments for my art. But it's just so creative, you know. And for me, I feel like, wow, you're made of art, and you have a barn here outside that you also create concerts and a stage for people to perform in, actually. What is going to happen in the future?
I want more money. All my ideas I have one really as a dream, and for real, it would be like I won on lottery and could start with a lot of money, foundation for local musicians. Yeah, that I could really support people. You could have some money from me to get your lessons or whatever. Yeah, that's the big dream. Yeah, and the small dream is now to, as you said, educate young people here, local people, and still have the one leg left in Stockholm, and using all these good musicians and inviting them to my barn and have these concerts on this very high level. And also this foundation would be lovely to have, so I could get you more money. People
give back.
Give back. So I want this stage, and I want this garden and my art. I like that because it's more hands-on. I'm not, when I sing on stage, which happens, but not so often anymore, I'm not doing it like, oh, I have to do this now. It's been there, done that.
Yeah.
I've tried this art thing is so nice because it's hands-on. You see it. Oh, I did this. And it gets my thoughts free.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can get this platform for many more people. See more creative things. And maybe from that get money to have the stage for other people. I really love it.
I kind of see that development in a lot of musicians. Like when they are young, they always want things, want to take things. But when they get older and wiser, they want to give something. Because it's so, I mean, it's amazing to hear someone say, I want a lot of money so I can give it away.
But that's what I've done. I've saved money for so many years to make this happen. Yeah. So I pay the artists from my own pocket.
Yeah, amazingly. I mean, it's incredible. Like my mother, she called me. She's like, Petronella, there is an amazing place. There is an amazing place. You have to come. You have to come. You have to go. You have to play. I'm like, okay, I will check this out. And she was like, she heard your daughter sing, Matilda, who is also a song pedagogue, who also studied in Ingesund, who has an incredible voice, amazing. I mean, wow, super cool. I was stalking her on YouTube yesterday. I can recommend her YouTube channel. So, amazing. And I was like, wow. Shit, man, what is this place, you know? This is just a golden mine for art. And I think also, I mean, in my experience, people who live in Sweden at this area, they kind of really want art. So if you offer it to them, they will respond. Yeah. And people in Sweden have a lot of money and they are, I mean, compared to other countries, who we say that we are poor, but actually we are not. And we have a lot of wealth, and we kind of, when you get to this level that you have a house, you have food on the table, you have a work, then art is so essential. I mean, it's always essential, because even if you go to the wildest Africa, I was in Namibia doing some music projects, and wow, you know, the art they have there is amazing. I mean, I studied for like 9 years in a conservatorium, different conservatoriums in all of Europe, and I have never seen art like this, never. I was like, I understand what music is now. For the first time in my life, I understand. They don't sing in tune, but it's art. It's amazing. It's incredible. Like, I was so amazed. So, I think it's just essential. It's what makes us survive. And sometimes people say that, you know, being a hooker or prostitute is the oldest profession in the world. And I'm like, no, it's being a singer.
Yes, that's right.
So, damn you, people were singing before they were selling themselves. So,
and singing also has something that you said, not in tune, but you just felt. Yeah. And I've never, ever got so struck by instruments as I have been by someone who sings. Yeah. And that's why you start to cry so often when you hear a singer. And as I said, who just leave this I'm looking at myself thing and just sing. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you have to be a good singer. You just feel when it communicates. Yeah. And the music together with the voice is the thing, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, I meet so many students who's like, yeah, I want to be good. I don't know, what is good? What is good? The brain cannot understand when you say, I want to sing good. Like, what is good then? What is singing good? Is the singing dynamic? Is it singing in tune? Is it doing it within expression? What do you want? Give me something concrete. Not this kind of vague, I want to be good, feeling good. Because sometimes it feels like shit and it sounds amazing, like we were talking about. And sometimes it feels super good and it's not very good. So, at least as a cellist, I can say. I mean, I can feel amazing, but if my cello is in tune, out of tune or something, you know, there is just no going back. But the cello is like the most close to the human voice, except for the saxophone.
Yeah, but, and that's been my thing. Yeah, I want to play cello and play saxophone. That's exactly.
So we can exchange here. Yes. The cello is amazing. I mean, I really love it, and it's just incredible. There is so much. I mean, it's a little bit better than the singing because you can do it forever. Yeah, that's my only thing. Like the singers, they can only practice a certain amount of time before it's not healthy anymore. And I was like, can still go on.
Yeah, you can. And I think about Lisa and Gertrud. Have you heard them?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
Who are they?
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It's a pair of musicians. I had them as students in Stockholm, and Lise Hummel, she's a singer, and now she sometimes uses the piano. But they started out as a duo because Gertrud plays cello and she makes they made covers. Now they made own songs, of course, also. Yeah. But that's a good combination, and I'm looking forward to have you here in my barn.
Oh yeah,
yes.
I'm coming actually.
Yes.
And before we leave, I have to first say happy birthday because tomorrow is your birthday.
Yes,
my aunt Ingla, she sends all her love because she's been stalking you on Facebook, and she said you have to tell her happy birthday from me. She has a birthday, and I'm like yeah, I will tell her.
Yeah,
so
and
happy birthday.
And it's the same day as our Victoria.
Yeah, as the queen, the future queen of Sweden. The princess,
yes,
the crown princess.
So when I was 17, my mother came to my room in the summer, of course, and she said, I have no present, but from today, you're going to have the flag every coming birthday. And it was like,
it's for me, you know.
It's for me.
That's incredible. I also want that.
Yes.
I have to arrange something with the Dutch king there.
Yeah.
But that's incredible. Before we leave the podcast, I'm also gonna. I always ask my guests to give an advice to a person in the music school, a person in the conservatorium, and a person in like a professional freelancing person. And maybe in your case, we can also make advice for an amateur, because I know that you work a lot with amateurs, and also because singing is something everyone can do. You don't need to buy an expensive instrument. You have it inside of you. So how can they make use of their instrument that they have? Should we start with the music school person?
The music school.
The future student of Gun-Britt.
Yes. The future student. I would start, as I said, what are you good at? Yeah. And what do you want from me? Yeah. Not from yourself. So the best thing is to say to them, sing every day. Yeah. As often as you can, because they are young and they can't sing bad, of course, but it really doesn't happen. So just sing. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. Yeah. Because then you're going to be better. Yeah. That's easy.
Yes, sing. That's a big thing. We will make a song.
Yes.
And for a person in the music conservatorium, one who wants to apply to the audition for the Royal Academy here.
Yes, experience or try listen to your buddies, play together with people, sing together with people, so you expand. Don't go so much into yourself. Be curious. Do different kind of music. Don't say I just want to do that. Mm-hmm. Because many later on they say, why didn't I? Yeah. But as Anna and Caroline, that was here with concert last year, they came from this small part in Sweden with very few people, and they met jazz in Karlstad, and it was like, oh my God, can you do this? And that was their first education and experience. And to play with others, sing with others, that's the thing I say for that in between. Yeah.
And for a professional or professional becoming?
Have a little bit more fun. Exercise more. Mm-hmm. More than you want. Yeah. Because that's the 4 or 3 or 5 years in your life where you really get to know yourself and your body and your muscle and the memories in the muscle. So when you have bad days, you could be a good singer or a good artist because you have so much experience and so much muscles that connects. When, I'm having a cold, I even been singing with fever, and I could do that because my body remembered where I could fetch some.
So maybe like your lowest level is high.
Yeah, it's very high.
So you don't have these like tops and downs.
No, and that's what you do these years. Yeah. Then you take in everything from the first start and in between, and you put it together and say, okay, now I'm going to be my own teacher. and my communicator and go on stage. But that is very important, because after that you will get family, you have to have some money to pay the rent, and you don't have the time. Now you could exercise 3 to 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Yeah. Yes, I do 3 times a week.
Yeah, good.
Yes. And for the happy amateur who loves to sing in choirs and everything,
I would say put CD on or listen to Spotify or anything, sing. And here I've done this with all these elder people, and I pick up songs that I had from in their youth, and then they sing lovely. But when I try out, teach them a new song from this time, it's like, oh my God. And it sounds really bad. But when they sing these songs from Torb and from spring songs, summer songs, Christmas songs that they were brought up with, they have a memory in the body that makes them good. Yeah. And then they can laugh and they have the time here. So that's my best. Find in your body a good memory, and then you will sing better, and then you will have it all your life.
I love that. I think that's some great advice for me as well.
Good.
To find something within yourself to bring out.
Yes.
I mean, this is just genius. Thank you so much for being in the podcast. How was it for you? You were a little bit nervous before we started.
Yes, and
you've been barbecued.
Yeah. I feel like, did I say anything that was good for anyone? But I hope so. That I'm just a human being.
Yeah, I mean,
trying to share.
It was really good for me, at least. So if at least for someone, it was a great operation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Och ge den lille god dricka. Jag har förfall, jag fånk och vall. Jag går på Jarle och harvar. Vinden blåser och björka går. Och lille sover så snällt ändå. Kersti, Kersti lilla. Jag vädre blås och björka går. Jag får inte vyscha den lille. Vädre blåser och björka går. Och lille sover så snällt ändå. Långt, långt bort i skogen. Master